Their closeness was overwhelming. Their breaths mingled in the darkness, visible clouds of warmth between them as the cold wrapped around the room like a living thing. Elena's heart hammered so loudly she was sure he could hear it. The sound of the wind howling against the windows filled the silence between their words, but neither moved away. For a long moment, she stayed stiff in his arms, her mind spinning. Ethan Blackwood, New York's coldest, most calculated CEO, was now her only source of warmth in a powerless hotel room. The irony would have made her laugh if she hadn't been so busy trying to ignore the way his heartbeat pulsed steadily against her cheek. "I told you," he murmured after a while, his voice low, almost gentle. "I don't make a habit of letting people freeze beside me." Elena swallowed hard, her pride warring with the undeniable comfort his body provided. You could have warned me before pulling me like that." "I did," he said, a hint of amusement in his tone. "You just didn't listen." She exhaled, her breath trembling. "You're impossible." "So I've been told." The faint humor in his voice softened the sharp edges of the moment. For the first time since the storm began, Elena felt something other than irritation or frustration. She felt safe. The kind of safety that comes not from comfort, but from presence. Minutes passed. The power didn't return. The room was swallowed in darkness except for the faint silvery light that filtered through the frosted window. Ethan's arm remained around her shoulders, strong but not possessive. The warmth spreading between them was human, not romantic, at least not yet. Elena tried to convince herself it was just the cold making her heart act strange. Just exhaustion. Just adrenaline. But when she shifted slightly, her face brushed against his chest and her breath caught. He didn't move away. Instead, he said quietly, "Try to rest. You'll need it if the storm keeps up till morning." She hesitated, then nodded against him. "Fine. But just so we're clear, this doesn't mean anything." "Of course," Ethan replied, but his lips curved faintly in the dark. "Absolutely nothing." The faintest hint of a smile passed between them, unseen, but deeply felt. By morning, the world outside was still white. Snow piled against the windows like thick foam, and the cold had turned the glass opaque. When the faint light of dawn touched her eyelids, Elena stirred. She blinked slowly, trying to remember where she was. Then she realized she was still in Ethan's arms. Her cheek rested against his shoulder. His coat was draped over both of them. His breathing was steady, calm, almost peaceful. For someone known as the Ice King, he looked strangely human when asleep. The lines of his face softened, the sharpness dulled. She found herself staring, memorizing details she'd never thought she'd notice. The faint shadow of stubble, the way his eyelashes brushed his skin, the tiny scar near his temple that made him look less perfect, more real. When his eyes opened, her breath caught. "Good morning," he said quietly, his voice still rough from sleep. Elena scrambled back, embarrassed. "Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to." "It's fine," he interrupted calmly, sitting up. "You were freezing. I didn't want you to catch pneumonia on my watch." She frowned, brushing her hair back. "So, the Ice King has a conscience after all?" Ethan smirked faintly. "Only when necessary." Their eyes met, and for a split second, something warm flickered between them. Something wordless, but undeniable. Downstairs, the lobby was packed with stranded travelers. The storm had worsened overnight. No flights were leaving, and even the main roads were buried. The hotel staff looked exhausted, and the fireplace in the corner was surrounded by people seeking warmth. Ethan approached the counter first, calm and composed as ever, asking for an update. Elena stood beside him, arms crossed, tapping her foot impatiently. "So?" she asked when he returned. "No flights today. Roads are closed too." "You're joking." "I don't joke," he replied dryly. She groaned, running a hand through her hair. So we're stuck here with one bed again. You say that like I planned it. Elena glared at him, but the corner of his mouth twitched as if he found her frustration mildly entertaining. You're enjoying this? Not particularly, though it's rare to see someone challenge me over a taxi, a room, and a blanket, all in one night. She huffed, trying not to smile. Well, consider it a new experience, Mr. Blackwood. Ethan, he corrected smoothly. You might as well use my name. We're snowed in together. Formalities seem unnecessary. Elena, she replied automatically, then bit her tongue. Why did saying his name feel personal? Hours turned into a long, cold day. The storm refused to calm. The hotel's generator flickered, keeping minimal heat alive. Most guests stayed in their rooms, and Elena tried to distract herself with her laptop, though Wi-Fi was gone too. Ethan sat across from her, reading something on his phone. The silence was comfortable this time, not charged with tension like before. After a while, she closed her laptop and looked at him. You're really not bothered by all this chaos, are you? He glanced up, brow arched. Would it help if I panicked? She smiled despite herself. You're infuriatingly calm. I learned long ago that losing your composure doesn't solve anything. That's easy to say when you have everything under control, she muttered. He studied her face for a moment, then said softly, You think control keeps you safe, but it doesn't. It just hides the fear. The words landed heavier than she expected. She looked away, pretending to focus on the falling snow outside. You sound like someone who knows a lot about fear. Maybe. His gaze dropped to his hands. Everyone fears something. I just make sure mine doesn't show. Elena didn't reply, but something in her chest shifted. She realized she'd built her own walls too, ambition, control, independence, all to keep her heart untouched. And yet, here she was, trapped in a storm with a stranger who seemed to see right through her defenses. By evening, the storm grew quieter. The sky outside dimmed to a soft blue-gray, and the world looked peaceful for the first time in 2 days. The hotel kitchen served simple hot meals to stranded guests. Soup, bread, coffee. Elena sat by the fireplace, hands cupped around a steaming mug. Ethan joined her silently, sitting beside her with his own cup. For a while, they just watched the flames flicker. You know, she began, breaking the silence, I spent months preparing for a conference I'll probably miss now. And yet, she paused, glancing at him. I don't feel as upset as I thought I'd be. That's a good thing, Ethan said quietly. Why? Because sometimes what we plan isn't what we need. She looked at him, half smiling. You always talk like that? Only when trapped in snowstorms. Her laughter filled the quiet space between them, warm and genuine. And for the first time since the blizzard began, Ethan felt something shift deep inside him. A warmth that had nothing to do with the fire or the coffee. Night fell again, soft and still. Their room felt different now, less like a battlefield, more like shared ground. The power had returned briefly, but flickered off again, leaving them in that same dim silence as before. Ethan lay on his side of the bed, reading by the faint light of his phone. Elena was curled up on hers, pretending to sleep. She peeked through half-closed eyes, watching him. The way the soft glow touched his features made him look gentle, vulnerable even. She didn't know when her heart had started reacting to his presence. Maybe when he'd pulled her close during the blackout. Maybe when he'd shared his quiet wisdom by the fire. Or maybe it was the way he never once crossed the line, even when they'd shared the same bed twice. Whatever it was, it scared her more than the storm. After a while, she whispered, Ethan? He looked up immediately. You're awake. I can't sleep. Still cold? No, just thinking. He put his phone aside. About what? She hesitated, then said softly, about how strange this all is. Yesterday, I didn't even know you. Today, it feels like we've known each other longer, he finished. She nodded slowly. Exactly. He smiled faintly. Maybe storms have a way of stripping away the noise. People show who they are when everything else stops. She held his gaze. And who are you, Ethan Blackwood? He was quiet for a moment. Someone who forgot what warmth felt like. Her heart tightened. Then I guess this storm did something good after all. By morning, the snow had stopped. Sunlight spilled across the room, turning everything golden. The roads were clearing, flights were resuming. Life outside the storm was beginning again. Ethan stood by the window, watching the hotel staff shovel the snow. Elena packed her things quietly, feeling an odd heaviness settle in her chest. So, she said lightly, I guess this is goodbye. He turned to her, expression unreadable. Seems so. She forced a small smile. Well, it was interesting. Not exactly how I imagined spending my weekend. Nor I, he replied, but I don't regret it. That simple sentence stopped her. You don't? He shook his head. It's rare I meet someone who challenges me. You did. She laughed softly. That's just my lawyer side. Maybe, he said quietly. Or maybe it's you. Their eyes met. The silence between them hummed again, soft, full of words neither dared say. A call from the front desk broke the moment. A taxi was ready to take her to the airport. She looked down at her bag, then back at him. Take care, Ethan. You too, Elena. She turned and walked toward the door. But before she reached it, his voice stopped her. Elena? She turned. If the snow hadn't fallen, he said slowly, I would have never met you. Her lips parted, her breath catching. Then maybe, she whispered, some storms are meant to happen. He smiled, truly smiled, for the first time. And in that smile, something unspoken bloomed. Hope. Weeks passed. The world moved on. The storm became just another story travelers told. But sometimes, late at night in her apartment, Elena found herself thinking of that night, the warmth in the cold, the stranger who wasn't really a stranger anymore. One afternoon, her phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. Snowstorms cleared, but I find myself missing the noise it made. Elena's heart skipped. She typed slowly, smiling. Maybe next time we won't need a storm to meet again. Seconds later, the reply came. I was hoping you'd say that. And somewhere, in a city no longer buried in snow, two souls who had once shared a blanket in a blizzard found something that even time couldn't melt.